Welcome back to the Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast for the recap of the Tour de France Femmes avec Zwift parcours release. We had it in Paris on Thursday, and a pretty similar route, I would say, to this year's route. We do have one massive mountain stage, so unlike the men's route, which completely changed complexion, I would say, apart from the absence of time trial kilometers, this route I think is very, very similar. And although it's in a different part of France, again, beginning not in France, but in the east, well, sort of in the east of France, in the French-speaking part of Switzerland, in the Grand Départ is actually going to be in Lausanne. We then go to Aigle for stage 2, Geneva stage 3, so a third of the stages are in Switzerland. Where did it start this year?
In France, Clermont-Ferrand, right? Am I inventing that?
Yeah, I think it started in France. And
usually when we don't remember, it's not a broad Grand Départ.
Yeah, you're right.
But I feel like when it comes to the Tour de France Femmes avec Zwift, that we've had this like year-on-year backloaded route. And I think that's been a fair thing to do. Because we've had the era of Van Vleuten. We then had the era of Vollering. And then we had the era of SD Works fucking over Vollering. And throughout those races, it wasn't really a problem for me that it was backloaded. The fact that the hardest mountain stages are towards the end. The question is, at what points, because the race has gotten an extra stage last year, it's now 9 stages just like last year, at what point is it going to change that dynamic? Is that going to change based on what the playing field is, you think?
I'm not sure. I think that still kind of is the dynamic, especially after this year. I mean, they had one mount, but then it's strange in that they have one or like few real mountaintop finishes, but the mountaintop finishes they do have are disproportionately difficult, and that's the same this year. But then the mountain stages are really, really hard, and like a really, really hard climb that finishes. So that's what's always kind of perplexing to me. I think the difference to the men's is that in the men's, the sprints are very, very open. In the women's, if you have a flat sprint, it is a foregone conclusion and Wiebes would just win. So we actually see, I would say, the organisers trying to make it as hard as possible for Lorena Wiebes and trying to have the other stages be more exciting, because this year in particular, there's just not 4 or 5 stages where you'll say she'll win for sure. But we exit Switzerland, go to Poligny for the end of stage 3 that starts in Geneva. Then we have a TT. Time trials back, 21 Ks. Yeah, incredible. Which I think was much needed. 21K TT. It's flat, so there's more flat TTKs in the women's Tour de France than the men's Tour de France, I think, which is kind of crazy.
Just
then
about the same, I think. Around 9, I think, if I count. The same.
Okay, so even they don't, they don't get so many. And then we still have kind of these transition stages with a few more difficult climbs, and stage 5 finishing in Beaujolais, then heading south to from Montbrison to Tournon-sur-Rhône. Quite long stages, 153 Ks. Then stage 7 is the Queen stage, finishing on Mont Ventoux, so 144 Ks. It's a brutal stage. Just a brutal finishing climb. Then we have another transition stage from Sisteron to Nice, which is kind of a like stage 5 of Paris-Nice last year or the year before, which was won by Coy ahead of Pedersen, like a long climb at the start. Then the final stage is they're trying to replicate the Paris-Nice final stage, I think, but it's a circuit in Nice, 100 Ks long, loads of climbing, like 2,000 meters plus. And they do 4 reps of a really hard climb with a little variation on the last one around the Col d'Ez area. So I'd say it's 3 main GC stages, TT, Ventoux, and the Nice stage.
I think that's fair to say, because those medium mountain stages with a pretty light ending, we see those stages in the last couple of years going to breakaway riders like Mevas Quibon. We've also had it with I think Bauernfeind winning 2 years ago in a similar kind of fashion. That stuff happens at the Tour de France Femmes. But before we go in-depthly into the stage-by-stage analysis, I think it's fair to assume that we will see Demi Vollering at the start line, Pauline Ferrand-Prévot is my assumption as well. Outside of that, Nivea Doma. With the Women's Tour de France Femmes, we don't have that same thing that we have in men's cycling where, a Vingegaard might focus on the Giro next to the Tour de France, which might impact his Tour de France. We don't really have that here because everybody's going to be peaking for the Tour de France Femmes. That is a top-level GC rider, right?
I think we might see almost all of them doing the double now because the Tour de France Femmes has moved a week later. The Giro's moved a month earlier, and it begins on the last day or the day after the men's Giro finishes. So that's the end of May. And 6 weeks plus earlier, there's now plenty of space between these two races. And so I think we'll see a lot of them doing the double.
Is there plenty of space between the Vuelta and the Spanish circuit and the Giro to have to choose between them at the moment?
Let me check when the women's Vuelta is on. Yeah, that might be the loser in this because that will be finishing. Let me check for next year.
I thought May, but I could be really wrong.
Yep, so it's the 3rd to the 10th of May. And so that finishes 20 days before the women's Giro, which is 8 days. And then after that finishes on the 7th of June. And then the women's tour starts on the 1st of August. So that's the best part of 2 months, 8 weeks between the two.
Yep.
So I think the Vuelta might lose out.
I'd like to see in the women's cycling calendar, see something be moved towards the end of the season. It doesn't need to be the Vuelta, but something relevant. Because right now, without the Lombardia, it's all about the World Championships and European Championships to make the last part of the season relevant. Because after the Tour de France Femmes, mainstream cycling viewers, I don't think they'll be sitting on their couch watching the CIMAC Tour of Holland. It was renamed, right? It's not the CIMAC Ladies Tour anymore, right?
It's the CIMAC Ladies Tour of Holland now. But I think it might not be a world tour race anymore. It might be becoming a dot pro and going on the same time as the men's Tour of Holland. I think what would make sense, is an option. I guess we'll see this year. Maybe there is still good participation in the Vuelta, but I think you're going to get much weaker participation in it, Zulia and the Vuelta Burgos, because you practically have 3 weeks of racing with some rest periods between those three races. What would make more sense would probably to be put those three and swap them with Romandy and put Romandy after Liège, like it is in the men's, and then have the Vuelta in late September, where the weather's obviously still very, very good in Spain.
Either way, I think it's time to talk about this race, because next to GC riders, we expect Wiebes to show up. When it comes to the sprints, we expect Kim Lecourt-Pinard, perhaps a Kopecky, that kind of stuff to show up. So if we take a look at, I'll start with unevens this time. I'll take the charge here. I'm the captain now, Patrick. Stage 1 starts in Lausanne, finishes in Lausanne. So it's a little Tour of Swiss, I would say. And it reminds me a lot of Stage 1 of this year's Tour de France Femmes. Now, there's 2 climbs in the middle of the parcours, which is with about, to be clear, it's 138 kilometers in total, but with 50 kilometers to go, there's the first of 3 climbs, 4 kilometers at 5.5%, followed by another small climb, 3K at 5.4%. I expect fights for the QOM jersey there, but to be honest, for the stage, it's all about the final 5 kilometers. In the final, there's a small climb to the finish, an uphill ramp to the finish, which is 2.5 kilometers at 4.5%. It starts at 6%, goes to 2, then there's a kilometer at basically 7-ish%, and then it flattens out in the last half a kilometer towards the finish line. So I'm seeing similar actions at Stage 1 of this year. I'm seeing the likes of Kim Lecourt-Pinard versus can Marianne Vos survive this? I perhaps would lean towards yes, based on her form at this year's Stage 1. Next to that, is it also Lippert terrain? Is it Kopecky terrain versus Wiebes terrain? Stuff like that, because let's be honest, I don't think we saw the best Kopecky at the Tour de France Femmes 2025, and I expect a better one next year, you know? Exactly.
I mean, I can't see it on this profile, but I think there's a kicker with 9Ks to go. That might be an error, might get corrected, but there's...
In our heads, we dream of that kicker, Patrick.
It'd be nice if there was, but yeah, I think this finishing climb, very, very, very similar to the finish this year. I mean, it goes left, right, left. It is more of a, they come off the lake, and yeah, it's quite a twisty run in, but the last 300, 400 meters is flat. It's a crazy similar finish, and so I think Voss wins it, and it's going to be between her, KLCP, and
I'm saying KLCP wins.
KLCP?
Yeah. We gotta do the picks here, but now it's on to you, sir. Stage 2.
From Aigle to Geneva, 1,800 meters of climbing. It's 152 k's long. We have a lot of that climbing in a 20k section, beginning with about 28 k's to go. There's actually a fair bit of climbing, and a lot of it's at a decent gradient. So yeah, it's not going to be so easy to control this. And then that climbing continues with some shorter hills afterwards. We're talking like 2k, 6%. Apparently there's a 10% wall in there somewhere. So I don't think this is so easy to control. I think a breakaway, I don't think you'll drop Wiebes because it's so far from the finish too, but it's a bit early for a break because the yellow jersey's still on offer.
One thing that we do need to mention is that for the people that are usually watching men's cycling and are also tuning in for this podcast, that in women's cycling, there's smaller teams. There's 7 riders in a Grand Tour instead of 8, which is something I'm advocating for to also happen in men's cycling, because less riders per team equals less control over stages like this. A team like SD Works with Wiebes, with 7 riders, it becomes that tiny bit harder to control a stage like this, to control attacks on that first climb you mentioned that is 28 kilometers into the stage. That's a breakaway formation climb. Now, we have seen the pattern that in some stages in women's cycling that it tones down a little bit when it comes to the activities to go in the breakaway in the first place, but with a parkour like this, I do expect that to be the case. There's enough terrain to jump into breakaways. I would like to see a cool battle between breakaway and SD Works trying to control. But the reality is, Patrick, we are saying all this crap, and on that exact day, we're going to see the little trek riders control for their sprinter Balsamo.
I don't think so.
They've done it every time. They do it every time.
Surely they attack with Henderson.
Nah, I don't believe it will happen. I think they're going to control for their sprinter that will be destined to lose from Lorena Wiebes.
I'm going to go Henderson. I have faith. But yeah, if it comes to a sprint, Wiebes will win.
The thing is, I would like to say Wiebes, but I also see the possibility that the break is just too strong to control in general. But I am going with Wiebes. I'm going to stick with the default.
Can you drop Wiebes here?
No.
Probably not.
Like, if she's in shit form, yes. But best Wiebes, I don't believe drops on a parkour like this.
No, probably not.
Stage 3, the first spot of that stage is even harder than the first spot of the stage you just mentioned, because they're making it fairly similar, I would say, because the first 24 kilometers includes a climb of 12k at 6%. That is actually quite hard, followed by some ups and downs on the plateau with like 4 kilometers at 6%, stuff like that. But from that first climb, the stage just gradually drops down in altitude towards the finish line with some ups and downs in it. So there's a few climbs there, but I would say that in the last half of the stage, it's 157 kilometers in total. So in the last 75 kilometers, there's some ups and downs, but there's no real climb anymore, I would say. There's maybe a 2 kilometer climb at 5% with 25 kilometers to go. That doesn't inspire mass selectiveness either. So here is the similar question of stage 2. Do you believe you can put SD Works in trouble on this one, on that first climb?
Yeah, it's pretty hard.
It is pretty hard to make a really good break. Well, it is pretty hard, so it should be easy to make a really strong breakaway. But what happens after?
It's almost too hard in that, like, if the break is kicking off there, then the break you'll get is like Castelline, Marion Bunel, like proper climbers, and then
Ferrand Prévost following.
yeah, because it's 12Ks at 6.2%. That's the hardest climb in the race before the Ventoux. And it's the third hardest climbs in the race after the Nice climb. So I think we have like the organizers here have said to the peloton, we are giving you all you need to beat SD Works and Weebers. We've got an uphill sprint on stage 1. We have these 2 stages on stage 2 and 3. If you let Weebers come to a sprint, that's on you. We are this is perfect for, again, a breakaway of Henderson, De Vries. Trying to think of some versatile rouleurs.
Rianne
Marcus. Squib on herself.
I would shout at a stage like this. Bredewold, I don't see impossible either, to be honest. Her climbing at the start might be the difficulty, but she's got the versatile sprint in a group that she's in, you know?
And that was similar to one of those Itzulia stages. She was in a move and then it came back, I think. Or Vuelta,
Can I be honest? All those Spanish stage races, the stages kind of flow together for me because I feel like it's like 3 weeks of Spanish racing and it's just one race in my head.
I'm going with Justine Hira.
I like that pick. I like that pick very much. Ooh. How has Schweinberger's season been? Not that fantastic, Christina Schweinberger, because she had like a really good... Yeah, I know. But like she had like a really good phase in her career.
Yeah.
I'd like to see her back on that pretty soon.
Skalniak Soika.
Ooh. I'm actually not so sure. I think if I shout Stageman, then I shout... Why not Van Androoy or something?
But yeah, it has to be someone who can climb, who can't climb. Because everyone's still close. It's the third stage. You're so close on GC. You're not going to give 1 minute to like a reasonably good climber. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens on this climb, actually.
Or like a Shabby.
See. Yeah, Shabby's a good shout.
And she got the freedom to go for whatever she wants anyway at FDJ.
And she's Swiss. So. She's Swiss, so she'll be motivated. Yeah. Speaking of Swiss riders, next stage from Gevry-Chambertin to Dijon, we have a 21-kilometer time trial. We have a rolling but flat first 8 kilometers and then a 2-kilometer 6.6% climb, a plateau of 5 kilometers, then a descent, and then a flat last 4 Ks into Dijon, where we have Marlon Reusser being the heavy favorite and a TT where she has to take time on the lighter climbers like PFP, Fisher Black, Nivea Doma, and Vollering.
Reusser wins, I think, is the conclusion for stage 4 of this Tour de France Femmes. The question more is that how is this going to affect the fight between Vollering, Ferrand-Prévot, Nivea Doma? You would expect Vollering to take time on the others here, but the climb is also helping the climbers among them. It's not the steepest climb, but it's still 6.6%. You know, we're not talking about a 3-4% gradient where you can stay in the skis that easily. This is a gradient where you might have to suffer a little bit to get over that climb in the first place. So I think the gaps between the GC riders won't be that big in terms of like Vollering, Ferrand-Prévot.
I don't think so either, and certainly not as big as we'll see on Von 2. So it's nice that there's a TT. I don't think the TT is going to change the outcome of the race.
Yeah.
In the end.
I don't think so either, but it's nice for the TT riders like Reusser that they get something.
Yeah.
Would his flat time trial have been more fun for us?
I think a flat time trial is more fair. If you're putting in the Von 2, I think it's more fair to have a 25k flat TT.
45 kilometers and we have a deal.
Yeah, I mean, there exactly. Then wouldn't it make the race better if Reusser took 2.5 minutes?
Of course it would.
Yeah. So
anyway,
yeah.
Stage 5. Now we're talking. I can't even count the amount of climbs I see on my screen here. From Mâcon to Belleville-en-Beaujolais, we've got 140 kilometers, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 categorized climbs, but there's some uncategorized ones in there as well. But it's climbing from start to finish with a few valleys in between. But I'll start off with the first half of the race, where we basically start climbing from the get-go, I would say, at 9 kilometers, 4.9%. Then we go slightly downhill, up again, downhill, next climb, 1.6 kilometers, 6%. Downhill, next climb, 3 kilometers, 4.4%. There's no break here. This is one of the stages where we'll see breakaway formation absolutely crack open. And that's why I think the breakaway already has a big chance on the stage at this phase here, but it just continues. 40 kilometers into the stage, next climb. 50 kilometers into the stage, next climb. 4 kilometers, 5.6%. Then 5 kilometers, 6%. Then 2 kilometers, 6%. Then there's a bit of a rest. With roughly the halfway point of the race, there's about 20 to 30 kilometers where it's slight ups and downs, but no real proper climb. Until we get to about 40 kilometers to go where the climbing starts again with 2 categorized climbs in that last 40 kilometers. We've got the Col de Durbrise, which is 4 kilometers at 5.6%, and the last climb is with 10 kilometers to go, and it's one we know. Montbrouilly. Where do I know Montbrouilly from? From Paris-Nice time trial?
Nah, Santi beat Plapp on it. Or Plapp beat Santi on it.
Is that a hint or?
Paris-Nice stage 4 or 5, 2024.
I swear there was a Montbrouilly time trial that Philippe did well on. Hey. 2017, finish on Montbrouilly. Julien Alaphilippe won. There we go, buddy.
There we go. Yeah, maybe. Who won, Santi or Plapp?
Mate, I don't remember. I think Plapp lost.
But he took time on GC.
Yes.
This is a really, really hard stage. 3,000 meters of climbing in 140 Ks is really hard. I like how after all that fatigue, the last 2 climbs are the hardest. They have the steepest sections. I think to call this a mini Liège, it is. It is, but then the last climb's almost harder. So it's like 3K, 7%, but the last 1,300 meters is nearly 10%. It crests about 10 Ks from the finish. I think AG Insurance will be circling this one for Kim LeCour-Pinard to win in a small group sprint. I think for Nuvia Doma, she wants to drop Reusser.
I think the first half of this race is so hard that you could really form a solid breakaway here. And because the last climb is the hardest, with 10 kilometers to go, I'm kind of leaning breakaway because GC riders won't go on that climb with 40 kilometers to go. They'll wait on the last one, you know?
They'll put bonus gates there, I'm sure, to entice the GC riders to go for it. But
let's hope so.
Even if you're Ferrand-Prévot, like, what's the point in going for this stage when you have the Ventoux afterwards?
Yeah, but I wouldn't be looking at Ferrand-Prévot for this because after this year, the base set of idea within the sport is that Pauline Ferrand-Prévot is the best climber in the world. Now, when it comes to voting, we'll see whether she can get to her best because I believe that voting's best level is pretty close to what we saw from Ferrand-Prévot on Madeleine. So if those two are close together, then those two, in my opinion, are waiting for Mont Ventoux. It's the others.
Could this be a raid stage?
Shit. I don't believe so because the last climb's the hardest. And there's only 2 climbs in the last 70 kilometers.
Yeah, true. I'm going to go KLCP.
But I might be underrating.
I'm going to go KLCP small group sprint.
She's the winner if it's, well, she's the favorite if it's from the GC group. I'm going with
Hakira from the break.
By the way, for big picture question, do we expect Maeva Squibon to go for GC instead of stages this year? Flodarczyk, Longoborghini next to her?
Nah, I don't know. I have no idea, honestly.
I don't know either, to be honest. But I'm going for... Kerbal will probably go for GC, not for stages. What's like the next Maeva Squibon breakaway rider at the Tour de France Femmes? That person is going to win the stage for me.
So good,
I'm trying to look through teams.
Good climber that's not 45 kilos.
Yes. I'm looking through the start list as we speak. Peter's breakaway is not impossible.
Yeah, Puck Peters is a good shout. That's a good parkour for her.
I'll go with Petersen.
Yeah. What happened to her this year?
I actually don't remember.
Lippert comeback? Yeah, I reckon Liana Lip. Oh no, I got a good shot. I got it. Oh, I can't believe I got it before you.
I'm terrified.
It's going to be a Paula Blasi against.
We're going to the youngsters now.
Paula Blasi against Paula Ostiz mega battle. Yep.
They're on different teams, so technically not impossible.
Exactly. And we saw the
Shame
Pauls and the Paulas are going to. Pardon?
Shame they're not both on Movistar. Movistaring it out.
Okay, so that is stage 5, which is I think 1 to circle. Stage 6 is a little bit easier, although quite long. 2,600 meters of climbing over 160 Ks. The climbing's more spread out across the stage. It's still some decent climbs, like 7 Ks at 5%, 50 Ks from the finish, or about 3 Ks at 6%, 20 Ks from the finish. Again, if you just let Wiebes walk around and win the stage, shame on you. I think that's what the organisers are saying. But yeah, it's a transition stage before Ventoux because they got to head south as fast as possible. I think Wiebes wins it.
Wait, what? You mean stage 6?
Yeah. Nah, actually, these climbs are too hard.
I think you're insane.
Yeah, I'd change my mind. This is the same. We've had 4 of these stages, right? 2, 3, 5, and 6. 5's a little bit different, but 2, 3, and 6 are really similar.
I think you're right.
So all the same logic applies. I'm
going for Monica Trinca-Colonel.
There you go. That's a good pick. I'll go with Femke de Vries.
Both from the breakaway, I assume.
Yeah, from the break. Okay, bring us to this. So we've had very similar stages and now one completely different.
From La Voulte-sur-Rhône to Mont Ventoux. And I gotta be honest, this is as close as it gets to a Unipuerto stage. There are 3 categorized climbs before we get to Mont Ventoux. It's 150 kilometers in total this stage, but I would say that before Mont Ventoux starts, there's, not going to be too much happening. Control to get to the climb, and then on the climb itself, we see the action. Mont Ventoux is, on paper, 15.8 kilometers at 8 point, what is it? I'm going to have to twist my head here for a second. 8.7?
8.8.
Yeah, but that's, in my opinion, fake news, because I swear this climb is 21.9 kilometers in actuality on the road. I think that's a lie.
Pretty much. So, yeah. They're not counting this. They're not counting the section before Saint-Estève, which is still uphill because there's like.
They're not counting part of the climb. Who invented this?
They're not counting from Bédoin to Saint-Estève, which is where Van Aert started pulling this year, and it certainly looked like a climb to me. And then
from this point onwards, the Oude Kwaremont is just the flat section for me.
Well, actually,
I'm not counting the climb anymore.
The Kwaremont, I kind of do count just the climbing section. I think the official section's too long.
I disagree with you, because the problem with the Kwaremont is it climbs, it flattens out, then it climbs again a bit until we get to the big road. So unless you're going to somehow cut the flat part out and just count the climbs on either side, I don't think you do that.
Yeah. But practically, you just have to follow on the 1K 7% section.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Has anyone cracked on like the last spot?
That's what I was thinking. Has anyone got dropped on the last part if you survived the flat bit?
Was there that motorbike incident where Wout van Aert was hindered by a motorbike in E3 2023?
Can't even remember.
Okay. Anyway,
this stage still has a fair bit of accumulated climbing. It's still 3,500 meters of climbing, and it's blocked out by the Ventoux itself. But yeah, there's still apparently 2,000 meters of climbing before Bédoin in 135 Ks there. So a bit rolling. Who's going to control it? whoever thinks they have the strongest climber, I think it's going to play out. I mean, this is incredibly similar to the Madeleine. It's going to be 65 to 70 minutes, maybe 65 minutes for the best. It's steepest at the start, so there's an 8Ks at 9.5% of Ventoux. It's steep at the end. Like, everyone's going to be in single, like on their own before Chalet Renard because it's so hard. And yeah, it's going to be minutes gaps. And everyone's going to focus on this for the whole race. So I think I'm worried this will block the race like this year.
The difference is that there was more climbing, I felt like, before Madeleine. And in terms of like actual long climbing.
Yeah, there were.
Is that easier or harder to control in a mountain stage?
So, it still was pretty control. I mean, Fisher Black, I guess, was able to get in the break. So, and it was a decent break that went with, Bunel with Fisher Black. Let me check. It was, from memory, like a mega hard stage. So, Madeleine had...
easier to control.
11.
He's counting. I can hear the gears working. Very loud.
Yeah, the Madeleine had the Madeleine stage had the same amount of climbing meters, but it was in 112 Ks, and they started with a 12K 6.5% climb. So I think they're both very hard stages, but for someone like a Fisher Black or Bunel to get in the break, it's going to be harder for this sort of stage. I think it's going to be easier for rouleurs to control.
And the climb is long enough, in my opinion, for the break to be caught regardless of the gap. Yeah. I don't expect a 10-minute gap before Mont Ventoux anyway. So this is between the big guns. This is between Vollering, Pauline van Amperevaux, and all the other climbers out there.
Gigante, if she's back. Gigante, Fisher Black.
You're right. I'm going for Gigante, actually. Gigante, sorry.
Fisher Black. I think Fisher Black's level this year has kind of been obscured by her losing time before. I think she did a pretty quick Madeleine. Go with Fisher Black.
Okay. I'll accept it. Do we see any other riders like Gigante, like Fisher Black, that could contend with the big guns next year? I'm giving you the assists. Literally, I can hear the Eastern European media ready to write about a storm.
We win the Giro first, but this suits Bunel, obviously.
Yeah. Well, too bad for her. She's on a team with Pauline van Amperevaux in it. So good luck, Marion.
Who else? Who won junior world champs? Blassie.
Yeah.
Oh, Isabel Holmgren. Suits Isabel Holmgren for Trek.
Yeah, but how far is she from the level of Madeleine, let's say?
I mean, everyone's pretty far from that level. I mean, if Ferrand Prévot does her Madeleine performance again, she just wins the race.
If Vollering does her best ever performance, the Tour de France performance on Madeleine, can she beat Ferrand Prévot as a whole?
I think, if Vollering takes decent time in the TT and maybe takes another 20 seconds of 20 seconds of bonies is a lot.
Yeah, it's not going to happen, bro.
They could, though. Why couldn't Vollering win that Beaujolais stage in a sprint?
Because KLCP will beat her.
Yeah, but she can... I don't know. I think...
Crash her?
Vollering wasn't far away from KLCP in some sprints.
That's fair. That's fair.
I think, Vollering... That's a good question. And more so, what if she is ahead and she can sit in the wheel? Does Ferrand Prévot just pull to the top? And then if it's stop-start? Yeah, so... But that's why I think it's going to go on Chalet Renard. I don't think it's very steep, though. It's very, very hard. So we'll see. I think Royce, it's not a great climb for her. Although she's, So it is what it is.
She should find her limits on a climb like this. Yeah. But anyway, this will be the deciding factor for this race, or do we see it changing in the last two stages?
We'll take us to I'll do stage 8 from Sisteron to Nice's transition stage. It's like a lot of like gradual uphill for 80 Ks, but very shallow for the most part. Then a long valley descent, like false side downhill, and then they do 2 kickers. the last of which is 8Ks to go. It's 2.5Ks, 4.5%. So, and then they finish in Nice. I think it could be breakaway, but the peloton has a pretty big advantage chasing on that false flat downhill, I think. Although the kicker is steep, saying the kicker is like 450 meters at 12.5% with the end of that. So it's uncategorized. You see how they've categorized the climb on the LFR profile, Benji, at 168.5?
Yeah.
Apparently the little knob at the end of that is mega steep. That's not categorized.
Okay.
What do you think?
How long is the mega steep part?
It's saying 400 meters, 12.5%. That's fucking
I'm sorry.
hard.
Nah, it's not going to do fuck all. We're
400 meters, 12.5%.
I'm not having this shit.
That's hard.
1v1. Next year, come on. 400 meters, 12%.
That's okay.
I'll get ruined.
Okay.
me doing 1400 watts and dying after like 5 meters.
It's looking good for the punch. I think you're gonna have a solo puncher or attacker. Who's a good puncher? Give me Paula Blassie again.
I think it's too short to get solo away. What is it with you and selecting like the very young rider that might not even be sent to the Tour de France Femmes because they're that young?
Nah, she's like 23.
But what's her record in World Tour races?
She won Swiss stage.
Okay. That's fair.
She's been cycling for like 18 months. She won World Tour races, World Champs U23.
It's kind of like, I got like KLCP vibes when it's not a similar comparison, but in terms
similar
of
rider. She's not a climber.
Recency of coming to the sport, stuff like that, combined to either way.
I think Blassie's pretty good.
But she is very good. That is for sure.
Who's like a
it's fair.
Lippert kind of just isn't there anymore as a pure puncher.
I think Kopecki's back and she wins stage 8 of the Tour de France Femmes 2026.
I forgot Marianne Vos. Holy fuck.
How dare you?
Yeah, I'll pick Vos then. Vos, Kopecky, and Kat Ferguson. She gonna do the tour?
I don't know.
Movistar got a lot of like leaders. Okay, stage 9, Benji.
Stage 9, we've got once again a decisive stage for GC, perhaps 100 kilometers total from Nice to Nice, and reminds me a lot of the final stage of the men's Paris-Nice. But it's a circuit race, so it's 4 times the same lap, 4 times the same climb. It's the Col d'Aise climb. In total, it is 7.8 kilometers at 6%. But I think it's fair to say that there's a steeper part of roughly, what do you say, 3.5 kilometers at, what do you say is the steepest few kilometers on this climb, Patrick?
The one
9%?
They do 3 times is like 3.2K 7% recovery, and then 2.3K 7% again.
So wait, Patrick, you just blew my mind. I looked at this parkour every time and I saw 4 times the same climb. And now I look closely, and the last one's steeper at the start. It's a different Col d'Aise.
They do a deviation.
Okay, I did not realize that. The 50 times I looked at this parkour, the climbs just look the same. I'm sorry. But the first 3 climbs is slightly easier.
The first 3 climbs, they do like the traditional, the traditional way up, I think. The La Trinité, whatever it is. I don't live in Monaco. I've seen Dave Brailsford does this like loop at the moment.
I'm happy for him, or something.
And then the last time they go up the steeper way through, or what's the road called?
Catechemin?
The vinegar route, the route of the vinegar, and it goes like it's like a 800 meter section at 14%. So I don't know if this is the route where like Simon Yates dropped Roglic. There's a million different little narrow roads around this area in Nice. That's why they can make cool parkour. It's 3.7K, it's 9%, then a descent, and then they do connect up with the same climb at the end. But I think very nice route design. If you are, you can lose 30 seconds on this stage easily. Yeah. So
for sure, especially because of the hardness of that final climb. I will add on top of this, though, I saw some criticism online to the stage of like, oh, it's uncreative, that is a circuit parkour, it's a joke, stuff like that. I don't see that. I see a parkour where the riders can really work with. You got 3 solidly hard climbs in the first 75% of the stage, and then the final lap is slightly harder, just in case you really need to make the dagger into the heart of your competitor. I don't mind that it's a lap at all. I think it's a good parkour, and that's irrelevant that it's better for in-person viewing experience that it's a lap. But from a viewing experience, I don't care if it's the pay or the Col d'Aise the second climb of that day, you know?
I think I like it. I know the UCI is probably listening. I like circuits. And they love circuits. I like circuits.
I'm not having this.
I like good circuits.
No. UCI, if you're listening, never listen to Patrick. He will sell you right around the block in Dubai for 5 months. That's what he will sell. He loves his deserts.
No, incorrect. Grand Tours should be 2 weeks long.
Wait, have you changed? Because I swear back in the day it was Grand Tour should be weekend. Or was that
yeah, we can do that too.
Viewing experience.
We can do that too. We can do...
Oh, no.
Yeah, 4x3. Yeah. 4 weekends of Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Or three weekends of Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And the Grand Tours are 12 days long.
On the condition that riders are forced and they're checked whether they do it on the days where there's no racing. They're forced to ride X amount of watts for X hours on the train or outside just to get enough fatigue in so that we still have a feeling that it's a Grand Tour.
What is fatigue? I mean, what are we talking about, fatigue?
Fatigue exists.
Does it?
Of course it does.
I don't know if it does.
Did we not have it at the end of the cycling season? From just
watching?
But
that's the season. But at the end of a 3-week race, I mean, Simon Yates on Finestra was like, I'm just doing my career performance.
I'm not having this shit. Fatigue exists in the sport of cycling across a Grand Tour. We see that in Giulio Ciccone.
In the Tour, we saw it maybe more mentally. The Tour, they were definitely cooked at the end of the third week. Giulio Ciccone, yeah, but his butt disintegrates.
Okay.
That's different. I'm saying a good circuit is good.
Yeah, but how do we get from a good circuit to where we ended up?
No, because you accused me of wanting a 50-day Grand Tour. Incorrect.
In Dubai.
No, I want Worlds in the Middle East in 100-kilometer-hour crosswinds. So Tim Merlier can win.
Okay.
I watched Abu Dhabi Breakwater Sprint again last night. Oh.
I watched Lord of the Rings. And I specifically looked at the scene where the orcs were created, the Uruk-hai were created, and I swear there's this scene where Saruman is like walking next to a new orc, the Lurtz orc, and Patrick, I'm telling you, I heard Saruman say to that orc, "Whom do you serve?" And I just heard in my head, Roodhoofd. That's the only thing I heard. Literally the only thing.
Is Van der Poel doing mountain bike or cyclocross? You should know.
Isn't mountain bike just glorified cyclocross?
Mountain bike. I know mountain bike. He keeps trying to do it and he keeps injuring himself.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. But I think LA Olympics, he wants to like win medal there. Anyway, this stage, I think GC's wide open. I actually think the climb is so hard that whoever's good on Ventoux is actually probably going to be still the best on these climbs. That being said, it starts so hard that I think having a strong climbing team in depth is very, very important. And if you can isolate a rider, you can cause chaos maybe. So I think it's a really good, interesting stage. Like Ferrand Prévot got isolated very early this year on the last stage. And in the end, it didn't really matter. So I'm going to go for the win for Anna van der Breggen, who's fallen completely out of GC, but she like anticipates like she did this year.
I'm going for Demi Vollering winning stage 9 of the Tour de France Femmes avec Zwift.
And does the Remco celebration in front of Matteo in Nice?
Nah.
Yeah.
Well, Matteo won't be there. It's a women's cycling race.
Yeah, I'm saying Broe probably going to
win. Now, on a serious note, like looking at the parkour as a whole, I'm pretty positive. Like, I don't have this feeling about the men's race necessarily, but the women's race, I'm like, okay. The only thing I maybe have is that there's too many stages that are slightly too similar. Why don't we do this, Patrick? Why don't we just have...
What's wrong with a soft uphill finish?
What's wrong with 2 stages in one day?
They did that in 24.
In the morning, sprint in the afternoon.
They did that in the Netherlands. I would say what's wrong with the soft uphill finish?
Orsier Melet. Well,
yeah,
maybe yeah.
Yeah, but Orsier Melet is not going to destroy the race.
Yeah,
I know it's still it's what 22 minutes for the women, 25 minutes. It's not going to destroy the race.
What's wrong with a Rampa and Humana, Patrick? Come on.
Yeah, or a Rampas 2K Rampas finish. I just think it's I think there's plenty to play with in the breaks. I don't see I would have liked one of 2, 3, or 5 to have a properly hard climb very far from the finish. I think those 3 are too similar. I'd like the TT to be a bit longer. Ventoux fine. I like having a mythical climb.
Can I be honest? I'm looking at this parkour and I see even stage 6. There is hard enough terrain there to try something against the top favorites. If you're a secondary top 5 rider roughly, but those teams then tend to think, we got to save energy because we got to get as close as possible on to potentially podium the race. So there's no incentive from those teams to think outside of the box and to think about, let's try and put some damage into the favorites here. We don't really see that in the Tour de France Femmes.
I worry that Ventoux might block the race a little bit, especially as there's not, until the Nice stage, but the Nice stage is afterwards. Until the Nice stage, there's no climb to really launch a raid.
Why would riders block... Why would the Ventoux block the race, Patrick?
Well, because if the best climb is just not going to do anything.
What are the riders scared for the day before Ventoux? Fatigue!
No, because they have the opposite. They have the opposite of a sunk cost fallacy.
Also fair, but I think fatigue also is the case.
If you have Ventoux on stage 1, then the riders will be like, "Oh shit, these are my time gaps. I'm going to have to use the Beaujolais stage to go crazy to take back time." But beforehand, they're like, "I'll do nothing, save the energy."
Yeah, because they don't want to be fatigued on moment 2, of course.
Because they don't want to waste energy before we want to. Yeah. So they're not going to do. Yeah, exactly.
We went full circle.
Yeah. Maybe fatigue exists. Okay, so I do think it favors a pure climber, even though there's the TT. It does bring it back to Demi. I think Demi at her best can win this race. Like she can. Especially if there's a headwind on Ventoux. Could be possible. If she survives Chalet Renard, not sure she will. But yeah, we'll see. It really depends on who can climb 65 minutes as fast as possible, because there'll be minutes there.
Yeah. I agree.
I think Wiebes might not win a stage.
I think there's a world wherein that is possible, but I think she takes 1.
She'll take 1, but they really should try to make it hard for her. The organisers have given the other teams plenty of chance to go for their stage.
I think stage 2 is the one she actually wins.
Yeah. How'd you rate the route? I give it a 7.
I think that's a fair assessment. I give it a 7.3 just to be different.
If it had a 40k TT, I'd really bump it up. A 40k flat
11.
TT. Yeah, then we'd be talking.
What's wrong with a 75-kilometer team time trial?
Because that just benefits the rich teams way too much.
I would like to see like an extreme Grand Tour at some point in my lifetime. Like 75 kilometer ITT.
It's true. including the Madeleine and the Ventoux, is extreme. They're extreme climbs for the peloton, and then we don't have the extreme the other way. So that's my only gripe, but I still think overall pretty good route. Okay.
I agree.
Any other news? Oh, I have a public service announcement to any of the professional cyclists, and I remember this because we were talking about Lippert. There's a public service announcement to all the professional cyclists. You have your little off season, have your little week off, go to wherever you have to go. Don't run too fast. Stop running so fast. They get their brand new running shoes, they lace them up. They got their 30 BPM heart rate resting in the morning because they're elite athletes, and then they go and run 10Ks at 4 minutes 30 because they can, and then they get a stress fracture. Stop.
Is there no like specific rider you're pointing at, or?
It's happened to so many riders, over men and women.
Kopecky last year?
Lippert. No? Lippert?
I don't know about that one, but...
Dinham?
Wow.
I think so.
Van Aert at some point? No? Am I inventing that?
No, the CX guys can run.
In the mud. That's the only condition.
Or maybe it was hiking or something. But yeah, that's my message, is just remember, you've spent 10 months just pedaling. Don't run too fast.
And fatigue doesn't exist. That's the second part.
And fatigue doesn't exist. So, yeah, I mean, maybe don't even train in winter.
Yeah. Okay. That's it.
Alrighty. Thanks for listening as always. We'll see you later next week. Ciao, ciao, ciao.